Again, I'm Wayne Jessup, the Property Bloke. For those of you who don't know me, for some new members, we've got about 50 to 60 new members in here tonight. Some of you may watch it now, but like I say, some of you might watch it later. You're too busy with the kids or dinner or whatever it might be. But what I want to show you tonight is cash flow property. That's a big one at the moment. It's a really optimum time right now is to put cash flow property in place into your portfolio. It's a perfect time to get it all up and running, low interest rates, high rental demand. It's the pinnacle of time. So guys, let me grab a pen. Give me 2 secs. All right, I'm on. All right, so the first thing I want to go through with you guys is cash flow. So with cash flow property, there's 2 or 3 of main styles of cash flow property. Now, this is you owning the property. There are other forms of cash flow, which we call cash flow strategies, but that's where you don't own the property. Someone else may own the property and you're borrowing it from them for a period of time. But this one I'm talking about tonight is all about physically owning cash flow property. So you get the cash flow and also the capital growth from it. So guys, there's a few different styles of cash flow property, right? So you've got a couple. So the first one here is what we call a dual key property. Now, a dual key property is basically 2 properties under the one roof. That's where you might have a 3-bedroom on this side and you might have a 2-bedroom on this side. It's all on the same block of land, have separate courtyards, separate garages, separate driveways, everything you need for a dual key property. Some people mistake this style of property as a semi or a duplex, but this is not a duplex. This is a dual key. This is on one title and can't be separated. But because it's only on one title, you don't have strata fees at all. Like I suppose a good example is a duplex is going to give you 2 sets of strata fees, 2 sets of council rates, and 2 sets of insurance because on 2 separate titles. A dual key property only gets 1 set of council rates, 1 insurance, and it doesn't have any strata. So for cash flow, this is a really good property to have simply because you've got low expense and high income, okay? So this is what we call a dual key property. It's 2 properties under the one roof on the one title. We do a lot of these dual key properties here at the Property Bloke, but that's just one property. The next style of cash flow property is, and everyone would have seen this. You still get this. You can do these relatively new, but a lot of these are old school. It's where you might have, the family home. It could be a 4-bedroom home on the front, family home, and they were originally designed for your parents. So these are like a granny flat here in the back, right? And you can rent the granny flat out and rent the front house out as well. These can also be cash flow properties. And originally they were designed to honestly stick your granny in the backyard to look after her. But this is a good cash flow property as well. But when you have a 4-bedroom house and a 1 or 2-bedroom granny flat on the back here, it can get quite expensive to buy and build. You can get some secondhand stuff in there as well. But I'm going to show you later why new is better with depreciation to offset any income you get from them. So option 1, dual key. Option 2 is your granny flat style design with a house and granny flat. And option 3 is an old design as well. It's a more common design you see. You used to see them a lot more in holiday areas where someone would basically, you've got a house on stilts. So it's all open underneath. You might have a 3-bedroom house upstairs. And what they do is they fill in this bottom section. So they fill in this section here and build a 1 or 2-bedroom studio downstairs, all right? That's another way of bringing in cash flow as well. But this is old school. This is, you don't see a lot of it in the newer areas. This is more you'd find in older suburbs. Definitely find this in older suburbs. But it was in the holiday areas because they used to rent the bottom one out, looked after the property, the area of the house and the land, and they're able to go on holidays in the 3-bedroom property up the top. That's more for holiday style properties. Another one is what we call, it's basically where, this is a really big design and it's not easy to do, but it's where you get a normal 4-bedroom house and you reconstruct the internals. And what you do is you create little studios. Now it has to be the right zoning. It's where you've got to go from a normal 1A style house to a 1B style house. It has to be in certain radiuses of shopping and bus stops, etc. But what you do is you make sure they have their own bathrooms, their own kitchenettes, and their own bed. But they're basically like 4 individual studio apartments. This can be done. It's a decent expense to set this up, but then you can rent these out individually. You can, they've got individual meters, individual everything you can do. That's another style, but that's going to the next level. But it all comes down to your comfort zones on what style of cash flow property you want to put in place. And there's a few other forms of cash flow style properties, but the main thing there is you don't always have to have in negative geared style properties. There's different forms of cash flow properties out there. Some has more effort than others, but you can definitely put them in place. All right, so guys, I just like to check on the comments, make sure everyone's saying hello. So everyone's saying hello to us, that's fantastic. But what I'm gonna do is now is go through some numbers on a cash flow property. So this one here, I'm gonna use an example. It's a dual key style property, right? A dual key style property. Now, that's that first one I showed you, how you have a 2 and a 3 bedroom under the one roof on the one title, great for cash flow, right? The best thing I'm going to show you here is the number side of things. So if you went out tomorrow and bought a property for $600,000, it's the dual key style property this is. Depending on your state, your suburb, etc., these range from 450 to 700, 800, wherever you want to end it. But it's all about the rent yield. You've got to have the right rent return to make this all work. So for your average $600,000 property, you should get, say, $780 a week in rent in this current marketplace. Okay, so 600 grand, you're going to get 780 a week in rent. So that's rent over here of $40,500, right? That's a lot of rent. Okay, so it's really great cash flow to have in place. But of course, you've got your expenses. So with your expenses, you have your interest. You've got to take your interest off, and you've got to take off your property expenses because you're going to have rates, you're going to have insurance, you're going to have everything in place that you need to pay for this property. So what have we got up here? You've got some numbers. I've got 18 grand here for interest and 6 grand here for property expenses. Now in this property expenses, that's going to have land rates, it's going to have insurances, it's going to have property management fees, advertising fees. That's what this 6 grand is going to cover, okay? So you've got 40,500. Take away 18 grand for your interest repayments, take away another 6 for your expenses. And what that leaves you with, what have we got the numbers up there already made up for me, is, where are we? No, I've made a mistake, $15,200, right? Now what this works out to be, simple in a nutshell, this is $300 a week. That's what this cash flow property has put in place for us. Is $300 per week. That's extra cash flow coming into our household every single week. Obviously, it depends on when you get paid the rent, but say on a weekly or fortnightly basis, it'd be $600. $300 clear every single week. Now, if you buy an old property, so an old property with the same numbers, you're going to pay tax on this property. If you buy a property 1 week old, you're going to pay some tax on this income coming in here. But if you've got a good accountant, they will advise you the benefits of depreciation. So for those of you that don't know, depreciation is basically a paper deduction, and a dual key will have approximately between $16,000 and $20,000 worth of depreciation. So you've got this income in here of $15,000, but if you've got your depreciation over here offsetting your income of just say 16,000, you won't pay $1 single in tax in that. Now, admittedly, over the years, the depreciation wears off a bit, and also your rent's going to increase. So eventually you're going to pay tax on it, but you need to limit how much tax you pay. You need to limit everything in place. Australia is one of the highest tax countries, and don't get me wrong, we have many benefits for being one of the highest tax countries, but sometimes you want to try and save on some tax. You don't want to pay the most tax you can pay. You want to legally limit how much tax you can pay. So this is just one example using depreciation to offset some of this. Now just remember guys, this is just general advice as well. Do not take this, screenshot it and go and do it yourself. You need to get independent advice at every step when you're buying a property, whether it's for your own home or whether it's for investment. So this is a dual key, and this is how the numbers work. And this is how I get to $300 per week, non-taxable income. So it's income, no tax, $300 a week in my hand. And now we're going to look at what are we going to do with it. But I want everyone to remember for me, 300 a week. Okay, so 300 a week is what we're going to use. And there's many different things you can do with this. Maybe in the comments, is there anyone on there that wants to put into them what they would do? Sorry, comments are over here. Sorry guys, I'm not looking at nothing. I'll put my comments over here. What they would do with that 300 a week. I'm quite interested to see what you guys would do with that extra $300 per week. If you were to put it into, if you were to get that, sorry, from your portfolio. Is anyone willing enough to mention that? Sorry guys, there's always a bit of a delay with Facebook Lives as well. So I'm probably 8 seconds behind you guys. Sorry, you guys are probably 8 seconds behind me when it comes to comments. But these are all wusses. No one wants to put it in there. That's fine. We'll keep moving. No, no one's up for it. Okay, so 300 bucks a week. I'm gonna give you 3 different things you can do with that money, how to reinvest that money. But of course, the first one we're gonna go after is the home loan. Most people watching today will have a home loan of some type. A lot won't, the lucky ones won't. I know I've got members watching at the moment, they don't have a home loan anymore. We're able to get rid of that home loan, but we do have some do actually have home loans. Because I'm the first person to say, don't let a home loan stop you from investing. Just invest within your means, but you don't have to own your home to start investing. So simple. Got the old home loan graph. Say for example, you have a $300,000 home loan. Repayments on a $300,000 home loan approximately at the present time is about $580 a week, right? And that's going to take you 30 years to pay off if you paid that, 30 years, right? $300,000 and $580 a week. Now, I'm using a real example here. I've got clients, Jane and Sarah, they both, 300, it was just a tiny bit under $300,000, but they're able to exchange their home loan period from 30 years right back just using cash flow properties as part of their strategy to help get their home loan down quicker. They didn't have a lot, they had a young baby and they didn't have a lot of funds to, obviously being Jane and Sarah, they had to do IVF. They had time off work, so they didn't have tons of extra funds. So we used cash flow property to help pay the home loan off quicker and to really hook into a good home loan strategy. So say, for example, we've got our property over here, $580 a week. Now, in year one, we put one cash flow property in place. So year one, it's $300 a week extra. They're paying off. So it goes from $580 to $880 a week. And then in year two, we put another cash flow property in place. So we were basically doubling the home loan payment without actually putting in the additional funds in place. And I've had some clients who have sold growth properties off to put cash flow properties in place to change their lifestyle, to change how much income they got coming in. So with this 1,180 per week, what we were able to do is the home loan period was 30 years, right? But with that, we're able to change the projected period down, right down here to 12 years and 2 months. Now with Jane and Sarah, they're well on track with this. Now they've actually started paying additional money out of their own money to start paying off the home loan as well. We believe they're going to own their home probably in about, they've been doing it now for 3 years. I think they'll own their home in probably another 3, maybe 4 years time. They'll own their home outright. Then it is what they call your home base. They're happy there. So they're just going to keep investing and start replacing their income. They'll use this $600 per week here as income replacement once they've paid the home loan down. But by doing that, they've saved, it was just under 100,000. I wrote it down. Yeah. So it was all going to plan. They're going to save a minimum $93,000 of interest. So everyone hates banks. We use them because we need to use them as a tool to leverage ourselves and to invest. But we don't want to give them an extra $93,000. Let's keep that in our back pocket and put it towards something more useful, like a nice Holden or something like that. No, that's a bad investing tip. Sorry guys, I've totally lost my eraser. Oh, here we are, found it. So that's one thing. That's paying down the home loan. We use cash flow properties on a regular basis to rip into your home loan payments, But like everything, don't rely purely on the property investment cash flow to pay down your home loan quicker. You do have to pay extra yourself. If you can't pay extra off your home loan, your home loan's too big. Your home loan's too much. You need to get your home loan down. You need to make sure you can make extra payments. Extra payments, in my view, when you're in way in front of your home loan payments, if you have a job loss or you get sick or you break your leg and can't work, you can actually store your home loan for 3 months, like a lot of people did through the COVID-19 period. You don't want to do it unless you really have to do it, but you can do it. So the first one I've showed you there is your home loan. Rip into your home loan, get your home loan paid down, and you can make a rapid change into your home loan balance, and everyone hates their home loan. The next thing you can do is start replacing your income. And this is the best way I show you guys on how you got to replace your income, all right? Now, the biggest thing I say to people, whatever income you're on, don't think about replacing it as a whole. Like, start small, think small. It's like you might have a goal, you might be on, say, 100 grand a year, and your thing is, how am I ever going to replace 100 grand a year? Don't think of replacing 100 grand a year. You've got to think about replacing days. So I'm going to explain it to you, right? So say, for example, you've got 5 days of the week, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Now, for simplicity, I'm going to use that your $300 per day is what you earn, okay? So that's $1,500 a week. That's what you earn. So $300 per day is what you're earning. Don't think about replacing $1,500. Think about replacing days, income replacement in days. So as you go through, you'll be able to, put one property in place. And in sense, you've replaced Monday. So you don't have to go to work Monday if you don't want to. I'm not saying don't do that, but you've replaced 1 day of work. You buy 2 properties, you replace 2 days of work, and so on and so on. So when people look at income replacement, they get overwhelmed by the basis of how am I going to replace all this money? Do it on a daily basis. Do it on a half daily basis if you want to break it down even smaller. Because like every successful person, whether they're property investor, business owner, your personal trainer, they work off small goals. So you might want to lose 30 kilos, and the personal trainer is not going to say you've got to lose 30 kilos in 10 weeks. They're going to say we've got to lose 3 kilos a week. A good personal trainer, sorry. So it's the same thing with income replacement. Don't worry about replacing $1,500 a week. Worry about replacing $300 a day. That's really what you've got to worry about, guys, okay? So income replacement for me is really important, because once you start replacing your income, that gives you more luxury to add more value to your portfolio if that's what you want to do. Because there's 2 types of investors. You've got the investor who doesn't want to have anything to do with their portfolio. They just want to replace their income, sit back and relax. Then you've got your other style investor who wants to be quite hands-on with their portfolio. So they want to hook in, start replacing days of income. Sorry, start replacing days with income. Yeah, that sounds right, whatever. And then use these days, actually take these days off and use that to increase their portfolio, either the cash flow or the capital, or do other forms of investment, whether it's shares or whatever it might be. But that's everyone to their comfort zones. Not everyone's the same. If we were all the same, it would be boring. So that's just with income replacement, guys, right? So anyone got any questions so far? Actually, what have we got here? All right, no questions so far. Feel free to ask questions throughout these, guys, as well. It's all good if you want to do that. That's no problems whatsoever. And the next one we've got here, it's something that it's basically what you want to do here now is just replace, to replace cash flow lost off your other properties. So what I mean by that is what we do is what we call a positive cash flow blueprint is our system here at the Property Bloke. And what we do is we get your cash flow property here, where you might be $300 per week in front, right? And we use that to offset a negative cash flow property. So a negative cash flow property should be a growth property if done correctly. So even though it has negative cash flow, it's got good capital growth. So this negative cash flow property, it might cost you $200, $100 a week, whatever it might be. And this $300 you put into this bank account in the middle here. And of course, that funds the negative property. So your positive funds the negative. It's like having two separate businesses. One's going to grow in value, but not give you actual income today. You can sell it down the track and take the capital and reinvest it, do whatever you want with it. Where the cash flow property, that's going to help you fund that property, okay? At any time though, you've got to remember, as this grows in value here, depending on your scenario, you might be able to sell this property, take the equity from here and pay the loan off your cash flow property. So your $300 per week might go up to $700 per week. And that then goes back into your income replacement, where you're just income replacing day by day. Okay, it's very important. You just don't think too big. It's important to set big goals and big dreams. I've got no problem with that at all, but you've got to really break it down on how you're going to achieve that. That's what I've done all my life, and I do every day moving forward. So guys, that's just how cash flow is going to come in the question. I've got a question. Okay, so good question there, Leanne. If, for example, Leanne's got a question there in the comments. So if I do this, would the bank still lend me money on the wage assessed as lower? It depends on the bank, Leanne. At the moment, banks are quite strict. There is a good word that they're going to be responsible lending is definitely going to loosen up as far as, in March next year. With the banks, so it's going to get easier. But for the professional investors, we do different structures. So different structures sometimes open you up to private lending, not necessarily bank lending. It sometimes comes at a higher expense, but depends what strategy you've got. So everyone's individual scenario is different, of course, but the cash flow property here, it does help you get your loan approved down the track because it's not a negative cash flow property, it's a positive cash flow property, all right? So I did have another question there from Nicole. Hey, Nicole, good to see you on here, Nicole, to be honest. Yeah, no problems at all, Nicole. If, depending on your age, you can put more into super. That's no worries if that's what you'd like to do. Super, you can put house, whatever you want to do. That's no problems. Just remember, putting in the super does lock it away though. That's all. It does lock it away. You can't get it to retirement. So, but you can do that. That's no worries. If you own your home, you already have a portfolio in place, you can take this cash flow property and just punch it right into your super. If anything, salary sacrificing to your maximum into your super is a tax effective way of saving on some income tax as well. So yeah, that's no worries whatsoever. All right, guys. Now, guys, do we have any questions on what we spoke about tonight? I love questions. I love interaction, guys. So come on, give me some more questions. I need you to ask me some more questions, whether it's about cash flow. It can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about what we're talking about tonight. I like to help people get through everything in life with it comes to property. So anything else, any other questions for tonight, guys? Sorry, but this presentation went a little bit quicker than what I thought. Sorry, guys, as well. I thought I'd be a bit longer here, but I just wanted to check in to make sure you guys don't have any more. Okay, so that's a good question. How long should you hold a cash flow property for? Now, realistically, Scott, a cash flow property, if it's all going well, you sort of hold it forever into retirement. It depends if you need to sell it to get the capital out of it. But if you don't need that, just keep the cash flow coming in through retirement. I'm a big believer you should only sell a property for a reason. And it could be a financial reason. It could be that the property, I think I've mentioned many times on Facebook before, in your property portfolio, sometimes you can have a dud that's not working for you. Get rid of it. It opens up more borrowing capacity to do whatever you want with it. But if it's all working, so if your cash flow property is giving a good return and just leave it in place and just take the rent coming in. All right, so Ben's got a good one here. So Ben's asked me here, give me an example of a high growth property. So a high growth property is pretty much this is an example. So you might have a capital city or a large regional city. I'm going to be quite biased here. I'm going to use Newcastle because it's easy for me to do. Newcastle in New South Wales is a quite large city, okay? But properties close to the Newcastle area, they're not the cheapest things to run because normally you'll find your price is high, your entry price is high, and your rent yield is low. So that gives you a shortfall. Another where you might go out there and pay $700,000 for a property, and it might only be achieving $400 a week in rent. So therefore, as you can see, that's a really bad rent yield. But being in a city with high growth potential, you're going to get the growth, but you need to fund it with a cash flow property. You need to put in place with a cash flow property. That's just to find an example there that you could do as a high growth property. Because normally your high growth property is a bit more central. Not always, definitely not always, but that's just off. If you read magazines and you read newspapers and all that bullshit, half the stuff's correct, half it isn't. They all say about buying in high growth pockets. You can get growth outside that as well. You just can't. Hey, Shannon, how are you, mate? Good. So guys, as I'm finishing off here tonight, Jess has put in here a little link. So anyone on here that wants to have a quick 15-minute chat, I do always give away free 15-minute chats in the place of just to see if you want to have a quick chat with me direct about what you can and can't do. Jess did put a link in the comments. She might put it in again at the end as well, but there's a link on there. You go straight to my calendar. You can book in for a 15-minute chat anytime. And yeah, we just go through what you would like to do. And I can give you just a bit of an idea of what you can and can't do. So Ben, a good rent yield, mate, at the moment is probably 6%. For a cash flow property, 6% and above. We took out, when should you get a growth property? So Leanne, it does depend if you own your home or not. So with the cash flow coming in, if you're pumping all your cash flow into your home loan and you don't have much of a home loan, that's when you might put a growth property in place. Realistically, everyone's on a case-by-case basis. But some clients don't do growth property at all. Some people just do cash flow right through. If you're happy where you live and you've got a small home loan and you're buying cash flow property, realistically, you're just getting to a point where you need to replace your income. That's it. But when should you buy a growth property? It sort of comes down to after you have a couple of good cash flow properties, if you want good growth in your portfolio as well, you probably want to do it like after your second cash flow property or worst case after your third cash flow property. All right, and I did see here, Jess has whacked that link in there as well. So guys, next week, we're gonna have another session again. We are gonna get better each week as we go through here. I wanna make sure you guys learn everything you can about property investment and really get out there and make it all happen for yourselves. But guys, thanks again for watching tonight. I'm really excited you all come on to have a chat. I do see some new faces there as well, which I'm excited about. And I hope you learned something tonight. If you want to learn more, click the link. You're not going to have a bit of a quick session on your own scenario. But biggest thing I want to know is, what do you guys want to learn? Put it in the comments. You guys can post in this group. A lot of people don't realize you can actually post in the group questions. You can put questions on the comments here, and I can break it down for you. Some of the questions here I've got tonight, actually, I might actually do a couple of sessions on, but I like to make sure everyone knows what they're doing with property. And the biggest thing for yourselves is education is like knowledge is power. No worries, Nicole, anytime. But guys, thanks again. I look forward. Now remember, next Tuesday, 7 o'clock, every Tuesday, 7 p.m. I'm live on here doing some bit of training. It's going to get better each week. And yeah, I'm really excited for you. If you know anyone else who wants to be a part of the group, just get them to join, invite them in. They have a couple of quick questions, but that's okay. They're not hard. Invite them in and get them to learn as well. It's the biggest thing I want to see in here as well, guys, is if you've got kids that are like, I'm not sure, kids are boring. They just want to play video games and look at Facebook and Instagram. But I'd love to try. I started at 18 years of age. I bought my first property investment book at 16, and I bought my first property at 18. I would love to just give as much knowledge into the younger generation as well, because as you guys would all know, now I've got a lot of clients that say it to me, and a lot of you watching are probably thinking it as well, is that they wish they started earlier. So the earlier you can get your kids into property investment, the better it's going to be for them, because the market's a lot harder than what it used to be for them to enter the property market. Sorry guys, I'm going to stop yabbering on. Thanks again for your time, and I'll look forward to chatting to you next week. Be good.